I don't know why I just got the game or something. After, like, I went back and watched, like, latest newscast, right, what happened yesterday, because
I saw your 10 o'clock show. Greg's just like my son.
I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna talk about football tonight. I don't know.
Did you give the battery any love?
Not yesterday, I'm gonna do it today. Yeah, because that's why we didn't get the post sound, and I was just like, there's nothing for like I looked up a Scotty ran Saturday, and I'm like, I have nothing new to add besides the playoff thing, and I'll make that a Monday story, I guess, instead of a Sunday story. I could have made it a Sunday story.
It's better to save it, especially about when this is all happening.
Yeah, you know, I was like, you know what, I went heavy into like a feature-y kind of side on like the Buddy Pugh thing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, whatever. Like it's like 52 seconds of sound about like buzzing them together, and it's not like.
Yes, the one soundbite, and they didn't give any more sound.
Oh, they did. That just means Joe said it.
Oh, because I got the default clip, but it's just the one long, like the 50-second bite. That's all I got.
Oh no, so Joe got it all field. So the president of the school wanted to do everything on the field
Ceremony, yeah.
in the rain after the ceremony. And I'm just like, are we not doing like a press conference like we do every week? And like all of a sudden I'm set up inside, and I have to go grab my mic. I can't figure out why I'm not getting audio. It's under all this rain gear because I just didn't have the damn. Yeah, things are gone. So I was so pissed off. I was just like, oh my god, this is so dumb. And then after a while I hear, oh, he's doing a press conference. I just want to do that. I'm like, no.
Oh, that's so annoying.
So I set up and I shoot the pressure instead, and I'm just like, all right, I'm actually going to control the sound of the light and not have rain all over my camera, you know. Because I don't know.
And then you had to hop in your car and get over to
And I had to go drive to Carolina
Yeah.
afterwards.
I saw that when I saw you were
I was there to get Darren sounds for Florida.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's press conference. The Bulldogs are coming off a 27-10 victory on the road at number 8 Furman last week. We'll host Mercer for homecoming this Saturday at 2 o'clock. Here to talk about the Bulldogs, head coach Brent Thompson.
Thank you, John. First of all, stood up here last week and said that it was going to take probably our best effort to be able to beat a very good number 8 ranked Furman team, and I think that's what we got. I know that's what we got out of our defense. If you go back and you watch the game film, and if you saw it from a little bit of a different angle, our defensive line dominated the game, and I thought they did a good job of being able to cut off the run game, cut off the cutback lanes, and when they had an opportunity to throw the ball, our secondary did a good job of just blanket coveraging and making sure that we didn't give up any of the big plays, and something that's been typical of opponents against Furman has been giving up big plays. So I want to give it to Coach Grantham, the defensive line especially, and I also here will have my 5th-year linebacker who played most of the game and has seen the ups and the downs of the Furman game, so I thought it would be a good opportunity for Phil to come and talk a little bit about his experience here and his experience in the Furman game here, especially this year. So when I'm done, I'll introduce Phil, and we'll move on with questions for him. Offensively, I thought we did a good enough job of, we didn't have too many things to do in the pass game. We had a couple short passes in there that helped us out, bailed us out of a couple of bad situations. But other than that, we drove the ball really well. We turned the ball over 2 times in the first half. That was very disappointing. We had more opportunities to at least put a few more points on the board before the halftime. Second half, we did a much better job taking care of it. The rain was coming down. It was a miserable second half weather-wise. But we drove it, and we were able to put a couple more scores in there. We played mostly field position in the second half. Went forward a couple times on 4th down when in critical situations that we really needed to continue the drive. And then I thought at the end of the game, Godak putting it out of reach was probably the special teams highlight of the year so far. A great performance by him. We had a new snapper in the game, snap to kick. Fairly efficient, and we were able to put a couple more points on the board with a field goal. So very, very happy about the game. Got to put that one away and move on. We've got homecoming this week. Mercer coming off of their rain game as well. Played and beat a very good VMI team, put a lot of points on the board. And it's a homecoming game for us, so we've got to be up, we've got to be ready. And the way that the conference shakes out right now, I think it's wide open and everybody's got a chance. So wins are going to be at a premium for all of us right now. Questions?
Coach, I think everybody had to play in the rain this week. Obviously, it didn't seem to affect you guys at all. Do you think it played into your advantage at all?
I think it did, and we were prepared for it. We practiced on Thursday with wet balls. We saw it coming, And we didn't have an extensive passing game, but we did have some things that we were trying to get open there, as we saw in the second half when it was a little bit easier to throw the football. We're going to try to, in the second quarter, to be able to throw it a little bit more. But our run game was pretty good. We were coming off the ball fairly well. I thought our offensive line did a good job of creating some holes and just moving it and being able to just eke out 3 or 4 yards apiece, which was nice.
Coach, what can you say about the resiliency of your team after losing to Shaco, coming out and handing it to Western Carolina like you did, then pulling off the win like you did on Saturday?
Well, this was the football team that I knew we had, and I think it speaks to a lot to their character more than resiliency. We know that our guys are going to battle and they're going to fight back, even when it was tough. And we had the tough VMI day here a few weeks ago. It's just I think that we are going to be able to put a good run together here in the last couple of weeks.
Coach, is there a point where you start to see the results of the offense and be like, all right, this is what you tell the team, like, we need to be doing every single week, 392 yards, 360 on the ground? Is that like the epitome of what you want out of this roster? Or was it the rain, the elements that really stressed making sure you drove that point home? But then to be able to convert.
Well, if you historically watch our offense, we usually typically get better as the year goes on, just through repetition. We are a repetition. We are a mostly try to rather than out scheme teams, we just try to outmaneuver them a little bit with our skill level and try to continue to develop what we do on the offensive line, especially, and then what we do with the back end guys. So we take a small portion of our offense in the beginning of the year and we build on it every single week. And by the end of the year, or week 6 or week 7, is you've got quite an extensive offense there that you can do a lot of different things because you're moving a lot of the parts around. However, you're still keeping all the same fundamentals up front. You're keeping all the same fundamentals in the back end, which has a tendency to start to confuse people, really. Is that if you can stay healthy in this offense, the closer that you get to the end of the year, the better off you are.
How do you feel the health is right now? I know we've still said for weeks, that bye week is coming late, but do you feel like the team is hanging in there?
Offensively, I feel like we're in really good shape right now. We've got all of our guys back, as you saw on Saturday. We're able to have a full starting lineup right now on the offensive line, which is probably our number one concern. A-back is usually another position that starts to go this time of year. Those guys start to get worn down, but we're fairly healthy. We've rotated about 4 to 5 guys in the last 3 or 4 weeks that have helped us out in there. As long as we keep the B-back position healthy and the quarterback position healthy, I think we'll be okay.
With Mercer this week, they have some injuries. What have you seen from them, and especially in their Western Carolina and Furman games, and what do you expect is going to be different in this one?
I think they're good up front on the defensive side of the ball. I think they've got a good big running back on the offensive side of the ball. Those are the 2 main factors right now that we're looking at. Is the 2 interior defensive linemen are very, very stout. I think they are going to be a lot for us to handle, to move out of the way a little bit. On the offensive side, being that their quarterback is out, I think that they're going to concentrate a little bit more on the run game, and they do have a really big running back in there. So I expect a little bit more of a downhill run game out of them on the offensive side.
I know you're a man who doesn't forget. Last time Mercer came here, they beat you guys in 2017. You still a little bitter about that one?
Yeah, we were just talking about that, and it was another one of those games. We turned the ball over a little bit. If we can maintain possession of the ball and continue to do what we do and build on our offense over the past couple of weeks, I think we'll be okay. But yeah, that memory does come back the last couple of weeks, or the last couple of years.
You touched on it. I think the SoCon's still wide open with a couple of weeks left to go. What's it going to take for this team to make a run?
We're going to have to just approach probably every single week, just want to know every single week, because last night we talked about it, and I said this thing is wide open. We still got a chance, and that's the last I'm going to talk about it, because from here on out it's going to be want to know every single week. We got to take care of each of these opponents, because we've got all SoCon opponents from here on out, and if we do what we're supposed to do, we can be in the mix at the end of the day.
What do you think some of these results do for a team's confidence to win these 2 games like you have?
Well, coming off the VMI loss, I think it's built our confidence back up to where it was at one time and where it should be, maybe after the Georgia Tech game. And as big of a win as I thought the Georgia Tech win was, I thought the Furman win may have been bigger.
What makes it bigger? Just the conference implications, the rivalry to it?
Both, yeah, both the rivalry and the conference. I think it's huge. It's huge for our Greenville alumni. It's huge for our program. It's huge for our team. It's huge for recruiting.
Did you hear it from Twitter at all? I know you mentioned some of that, and maybe your lack of friends. Did you find a few more friends this week?
You always find a few more friends after a win, don't you?
Brent, I was going to ask you if you thought it was helpful to talk to the guys about the conference race and how wide open it is right now, and you sort of answered that, but
Well, it's very similar, and I went back to our 2015 run where we kept on getting better. And at the end of the year, we were in that mix there. And we didn't start off the year; we were 2-2 at one time in that year. And so I went back and thought about that year that we started to get hot at the end of the year. And I said, you know what? It's probably time to address it, get it out of the way, and then move on from it. And I said, this will be the last time that we talk about this. However, we still got a chance. If we do what we do, we'll have a chance to be able to be in the mix in this at the end of the year, which is important for our guys. You know, we want to continue to play for something. And really, at this point, probably just about everybody's in the mix.
Can you talk about Marquise Blunt? You mentioned after the game that Tony's been moving him around a little bit, but more specifically, what has he done with Marquise?
I tell you, Marquise, he's a good guy. You can see Marquise out there on a #1 receiver playing clutch technique out there, and you can see him blitzing off the edge, which is a nice weapon to have. He's long, lean, runs extremely well. He's really built himself into a tremendous player. I think when he came in here, he was just above 200 pounds. Now he's well over 220 pounds. And it speaks to not only Marquise and his work ethic, but also what Donnell Boucher has done for us and the weight room has done for us and him. So he's developed into a really good football player. He's the SoCon Defensive Player of the Week this week for the second consecutive week, John. So, you know, it's obvious that Tony has taken advantage of what he's been able to do and move him around a little bit.
He had some games with some personal fouls early on. Does he play right to that edge?
Part of it is, you know, there's 2 personal fouls that he took. He took one at Western, one in VMI, and both extended the drive. And at the end of the Western one, I was very disappointed because the VMI one was, I mean, it was after. You're going to get that called, but now you should know better after that one. And when it became the Western one, that's when I was a little bit disappointed because it's a very similar situation there. You're going to get those called all the time anymore. So he should know better at that point. But ever since then, he's been great. He understands where that line is right now. And once you understand that, I think he'll be good to go from here on out.
You broke out the wishbone against Furman. Just talk about that. And
sometimes being in the wishbone, yes. Sometimes being in the wishbone, that was part of our rain package. Is when you do get a little bit of a rain, you don't want to necessarily move around as much. You don't. If you're going to put your A-backs in the blocking scheme a little bit, you're going to move them into the wishbone. We have that typically in from week to week. It's just a matter of whether it's going to be a short yardage package or like it was in that day, and that was just a little bit of keep your cleats in the ground, keep their cleats in the ground, and let's get downhill a little bit and see if we can't change the snap count up.
Speaking of SoCon Player of the Week, Jason also getting that honor for special teams. He's hit a bunch of clutch kicks for you, especially that one in the rain to kind of seal the deal there against Furman. What can you say about him, and is he kind of one of those unsung diamond in the roughs on this team? Yeah,
Jacob, he hasn't had too many opportunities to kick. He had the one that was, I think he missed one a couple of weeks ago, but battled back this week. And I was just telling the story over there is the last kick that he kicked, we had the option there whether we were going to go for it or whether we were going to kick the field goal. I kind of set it up on the hash for him to be able to kick it. So we got to it, and I grabbed him over and I said, Jacob, are you going to, can you make this or should we go for this? And it was completely Jacob's style. I didn't even know where the ball was. He looked at it, looked out there, and he goes, yeah, I got this, not a problem at all. So once he said that, I trotted him out there, and he kicked, 2 into the driving rain. That was the wind that was coming at you there. That was a difficult kick to make, and I got to hand it to him. He had no problem with it, didn't have any problem thinking about it either.
Coach, is anything different going to coach playing at homecoming? Like, what are the emotions that change from just a regular home game? Because I know you appreciate and treasure these at Johnson Hagan, but what's it like when everyone comes back to campus?
Well, the homecoming atmosphere here is probably like no other I've been around. It's 15,000 probably here, anywhere from 13 to 15,000 here. It could be, if you go all the way back to the Sanford game about 3 years ago, I mean, that was a difference maker in that game between the Corps Cadets on the one end and having the stadium pretty much well filled. That is one of the best home game environments that we have ever been a part of, unlike any other homecoming that I've ever been a part of. On the other side of that is it can be distracting, and you've got to be careful with your team. And that is why ever since Coach Houston was here, we've always kind of taken the team off campus for most of that Friday leading up into the Saturday. We don't come back until Saturday morning, essentially. We do a couple things here on Friday night. But other than that, we try to stay as far away from it as possible. And learning that from Coach Goldsmith as well as Coach Houston, that it's probably the best way to approach homecoming, and it's the best way to approach homecoming here is to address it, get out of the way early on in the week, tell them what it's going to be like, and then move on from it, and then be excited here on game day when it is filled, and it is a good crowd, and it's an excited crowd. And I think we will have a great crowd as long as we have good weather. I think the crowd will come out.
With it being homecoming week, any thoughts to the uniform combination for Saturday?
We will be a traditional, probably, a traditional uniform combination for us. All right, well, let me introduce Phil. Phil's been with us. This is his 5th year. Decided to come back for his 5th year, and I think part of that was maybe to get another crack at Furman, which he played an outstanding game, and I want to give him an opportunity to answer any questions that you have and kind of change up the press conference here. So, Phil Davis, 5th year linebacker from Hillgrove in Atlanta.
Thank you for the introduction, Coach Thompson. I appreciate you. As I can say, it was a great win for our team. We stood tall against an opponent that was highly ranked and that it was going to be a battle for us. We knew that playing a triple option was something that we're very familiar with, but we also knew that there was a little different. This was a team that was coming off big wins. They almost beat a Virginia Tech team that's pretty solid. And considering that we have our own FBS win of our own, that it was going to be very challenging. That a team like this is one that you can't take lightly, considering that they're a rival, but they're also somebody that we just can't stand because we just don't like purple. But at the end of the day, we got to do what we have to do in order to solidify our win, but also continue to persevere. Coach Grantham and Coach Hodges did a great job with us preparing us for this week. And it's kind of been a theme that we picked up as a unit, considering that we have some wins that we definitely are proud of, but we also have some losses that we definitely should have won. Considering VMI, Elon, and Towson games that were close, that if a decent unit did a little bit of better preparation and things like that, we could have solidified those wins. So we take those things into consideration, and we do what we have to do in order to be better as a unit now and down the road. So considering Furman, our preparation was very key. We knew that they were going to come out and they're going to have some type of formation, things that we weren't prepared for, considering they had a bye week. A couple of years ago, we went to Furman, and it was kind of an embarrassment to us and our fans as we didn't prepare well. And they came out with things that we weren't ready to do, and it was kind of one of those things you have to take on the chin with a grain of salt. Remember that you have to be strong in what you do. So considering that they had another bye week, we knew that it was time to come ready to prepare for anything and everything. So we took a game plan, and at the end of the day, Furman's gonna do what they want to do, and any team in the conference will. But we can't let that affect what we do and how we act. So we took key in our preparation, and we just stuck to it. When they got in certain personnel formations, we subbed. We got the guys that were supposed to be in there needed. At the end of the day, they wanted to run the ball, and we had to stop the run game. And it definitely helps when you have guys like Joseph Randolph, Dalton Owens, and Marquise Blunt definitely helping me and Willie get between gaps and taking on double teams so that we can run free and make those plays.
Phil, do you feel like the team has had a different mindset since the VMI game, and what is that mindset?
I absolutely believe that we do have a different mindset. It's tough when you lose trophies and you're playing against a rival that for so long we've had that trophy, and it's easy walking in and you get complacent with seeing a trophy like that sitting on a case, and when you lose it, it stings because you walk in and it's not there anymore. And after that loss, it hurt us more than I can say probably a lot of alumni, they were upset, but considering that this is a new team and it's our year, it definitely hurts a lot. And considering that we were in a place in our team where we had to sit down and literally look at ourselves in the mirror and go, what are we going to do? What is going to be our story moving forward in this season? And we decided that it was going to be the fight. And at the end of the day, everybody outside is going to pat us on the back. They're going to give us, great job, great win, or you'll get them next time. At the end of the day, we can only control what we can control, and that's our attitude, our preparation, and our perspective. And if we can fine-tune those things, we'll always be perfect, and we'll play with emotion.
From your perspective, the identity of this team, you said it, there's some losses you wish you could have back, but you've also had some great wins. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster from the outside looking in. What has it been like for you guys?
First, as a unit and even as a team, it's definitely been one heck of a ride. You'll look back and we'll cherish these things at the banquet at the end of the season, and we'll definitely talk about it. But as of right now, we know we got a lot of work to do. Like Coach Thompson said, it's going to have to be 1-0 here moving forward. I know a lot of people want us to look at Walford and they want to look at Chad, those things who sit at the top of the conference. But at the end of the day, if we lose to Mercer, there won't be another conversation like this. So we have to take this one very seriously. Considering that I am from Georgia, I have friends that were recruited with me to go to Mercer. Will Conway, he's actually one of them. Eric Jackson, he's just one of the starting safeties. So guys like that, this is definitely a game that does mean a lot, but you have to remember that we have to stay in our course. We have to stay one game at a time. That way we can prepare well, that we can fine-tune everything we need to do for this exact opponent.
How much does it mean to, when you realize that beating Furman puts you back in the conference race? What does that mean going forward?
It means a lot. It gives us a little extra edge. I know for some people it says that it kind of makes you complacent. Like, oh, okay, well, now we finally have a shot. We made it. We took down number 18 in the nation. Well, for us as a unit and even as a team, it just adds more fuel for us knowing that, hey, a team that was highly ranked and that we very respect because they're a really good team, we played a very solid game. And when you go back and look at the film as a unit and as a team, we left a lot of plays out there. We could do a lot more things better, and we can take them from 216 yards to maybe, who knows, less than 100. And that's a unit. As a unit, we're making that our mission to, okay, we set the standard for a team that was ranked in the top 10. Why not take a team that's not and make an even bigger statement?
Phil, you guys go for 392 total yards on offense, but your defense only allowing 216 yards for coach to come up here, and the defense is the first thing that he says when talking about the position players and the sides of the ball that made an impact. What does that feel like to know that you guys were such a huge part of making this big time win happen?
It's actually really great, considering that in college football world you hear about a lot about, Heisman candidates, you hear about a lot of offensive dominant guys. Well, it's great that we kind of, as a defensive player, you get some recognition because a lot of times you hear about, oh, they put up 56 points or something like that. But as a unit, you hear guys like Marquise Blount, Dalton Owens that are the guys that are behind the curtains, behind the scenes that are causing havoc. That way the guys like Will Eubanks, who's my roommate, great guy, I love him. He's doing what he does best and making plays for us every week and consistently. So it means a lot considering that, games like this where it's rainy, bad weather, we can't control what the offense is going to run and what they're going to do. I know Brandon was kind of frustrated with the fumbles and everything, but as we told him on the sideline, just keep playing, Brandon. Just stay the course, relax, and go with the flow of the game because at the end of the day, we were confident in our game plan and we're prepared to face anything and any adversity that may come. And games like that, you should expect fumbles, you should accept bad snaps. That's going to occur. It's bad weather. But at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control.
So what's impressed you about Marquise's growth into an impact player this year?
I've been here for a very long time. I mean, I've been with defensive linemen like Mark Thomas, Joe Crochet, and guys that were All-Americans, even Russell Hubbs, that people that were stood tall in one of our biggest games. Marquise will definitely be, in my opinion, will definitely be at some point All-American for this program. His growth has occurred mentally. I know a lot of people have seen him transform physically, but Marquise is somebody that I took underneath my wing a long time ago, considering that his background and his testimony is great. He's a great person on and off the field. And to see somebody transform like that mentally is a huge part of the game. And we always talk about, physically imposing our will on people and running down their throat, but you also have to be mentally strong to be part of this team and even come to the Citadel. I mean, going through Nabier and staying here for all 4 years, it takes a special type of person to join being an alumni. So considering that Marquise is doing that, but also he molded himself mentally in order to take on a task where we have great leaders on this defense. I mean, you have Willie, you have myself, you have Phil Baird, who's also one of our captains, Brandon Rainey, but Marquise is one of those guys in our group message that we talk about. Hey, this guy's, he needs to be around. He's very vocal. Marquise leads our pregame chats, everything. Like he's that guy for us, but we also know that he still has a ways to go. But we're very proud of where he is and where he's going to be, and I'm excited to see how he continues to improve week out and week in.
Phil, so where does your mind go when you see the color purple? Is it just that paladin kind of purple, or is it all like you literally will see it and be like, dang, Furman, man? Like, what's the deal on that?
Considering we played West Carolina last week, that purple kind of fueled a little bit like, okay, that week is approaching. But Furman purple is just, I mean, it's a little different. I mean, it's considering that my freshman year, we went there, blowout win. 2015, 2016, we were home. We played a solid game. We won that one as well. And then 2017, that loss happens, and it's their homecoming as well. And then to repeat the same thing to come back for a fifth year, kind of adds a little chip to your shoulder. And you're looking like, man, last time I was here, it was embarrassing. I mean, quite frankly, we had to pretty much thank them for beating the crap out of us for a whole 4 quarters. And in return, we wanted to do the same thing, considering that we were the other team just a couple of years ago.